Officer Lynn Martinez had just finished another grueling shift with the NYPD, feeling the weight of her duties as she climbed the steps of her brownstone in Queens. Her heart was light, despite her fatigue, eager to see her two children, who should be home from school by now. As she reached the top step, she pulled her keys from her pocket, when suddenly the sharp crack of a gunshot echoed from inside the house, freezing her in place. Panic rose within her as she realized both her 15-year-old son, Alex, and 11-year-old daughter, Sophia, were home. Her hands shook as she struggled to get the key into the lock. Swinging the door open with force, she was greeted by a scene that turned her blood cold. Alex stood there, eyes wide with terror, a gun still in his trembling hands. Her gun. On the floor lay Sophia, motionless and pale. A choked cry escaped from Lynn's throat as she rushed to her daughter, her mind barely registering the frantic apologies spilling out of Alex's mouth. Her training kicked in, checking Sophia's pulse and breath, praying for any sign of life. Her heart was pounding, the room spinning as she stayed beside Sophia, calling 911 with the steadiness that surprised even herself. The kids had come home early, school having dismissed due to an unforeseen power outage. With time on their hands before Lynn and her husband, Mark, typically returned from work, Alex decided to explore the house. He often tried to emulate the heroics his parents displayed in their law enforcement roles. But curiosity got the better of him when he found the unattended gun left hastily on the bedroom dresser that morning. Just as the full weight of the situation settled on her chest, Mark, a NYC correction officer, rushed through the door. His expression went from worry to horror, seeing the scene unfold. His eyes locked onto Lynn's, searching for answers, only to see mirrored fear and anguish. This wasn't the homecoming they had ever imagined. Alex dropped the gun as if it burned him, his knees giving way. "Dad, I didn't mean to." His voice was cracking, wet with tears. In that moment, Lynn's training intersected with maternal instinct. She needed to reassure Alex, comfort him, while also providing care for Sophia in dealing with the emotional swirl swallowing her whole. "It's going to be okay," she whispered, a mantra as much for herself as for her children. Paramedics arrived, filling their small home with urgency and efficiency. Mark and Lynn watched, helplessly tethered to the whirlwind, taking Sophia to the hospital. Questions swirled from the police at the scene, colleagues of Lynn who now stood as testament to the unpredictable chaos of life. Officer Lynn Martinez barely had a moment to process fey blue and red reflections cast a dizzying hue on the walls, an unwelcome disruption to her once stable sanctuary. As she paced the living room, alternating her gaze between Sophia's stretcher and Alex, two officers stepped in: Paul Mendez and Cara Livingston. They were familiar faces from her precinct, lending some comfort amidst the chaos. "Lynn," Officer Mendez began cautiously. What happened here?" His eyes betrayed deeper concern than protocol typically dictated. Swallowing hard, Lynn struggled to maintain her composure, knowing the incident report would forever alter perceptions and records. "Paul, it was an accident. Sophia, she was shot, but Alex didn't mean to. It was my firearm. I left it unsecured." "You left it out?" Kara's voice held a note of disbelief, but they softened despite the critical situation. "Where was it kept?" "In our bedroom, on the dresser. I was rushing, late for my shift." Lynn spoke quietly, guilt threading through each word. There was no excuse, only consequence. She had to acknowledge her misstep, even through the fear of repercussions. "This situation, it's complicated, Lynn," Paul remarked, careful but firm. He jotted notes on his pad, glancing between them and her. "You do understand the internal review and potential legal proceedings?" Yes, I understand, Lynn nodded, her determination overshadowed by shame. We're cooperating fully. I know the drill. I want what's best for my kids. That's all that matters right now. Kara's gaze softened, understanding the familial strain beneath the procedural exterior they must uphold. How's Mark taking this? She risked asking, recalling Lynn's partner in life and their shared burdens. Lynn took a shuddering breath, peering at Mark, who stood 10 feet away, grasping Alex's shoulders with steadiness. He's strong for them. We'll talk it through somehow. Despite policies, they understood Lynn thrived in dual worlds, the badge and her family. Sympathy, though professional, briefly kindled in their exchange, offering a private margin borrower to comprehend their perilous heartache. Mendez hesitated, weighing his next words. Listen, Lynn, for now, just focus on Sophia and Alex. We'll take care of this scene, all right? You'll be given an official statement to complete later, standard procedure. Paul, Kara, Lynn implored, a plea woven through worn syllables. Promise me you'll remember they're just kids? I don't want them dragged through more than necessary. The kids' welfare will come first. That's a promise, Kara assured, carrying not only words, but quiet civility between them. Their retreat was orderly, imbued with empathy amidst procedure. Still, the hollow gavel of impending inquiry loomed, an entity Lynn knew would resolve outside these forgiving familial walls. They'd haunt the precinct offers as both professionals and participants of circumstance, following still contract lines abutting their torn asunder projections of justice. The tumult minimally diverted, the gravitational center held together, pulled to next logical fragments, the immediate hospital visitation amidst reconstructive surgery requisite for Sophia's recovery. Stepping stones, each fabricated both by her nurturing promise toward herself, as officer and primarily preventive matron within their domestic bastion. She summoned muted by understanding attached to oversight, yet echoes their syllogism, reconciled with understanding as mirror. As the seconds stretched into hours and then days, those like Paul and Kara, who mingled heart with procedure, came often, offering quiet companionship and supportive cohesion. Aidership was their strength, has stood through legalities with firm roots. Their pursuit dim-weighted for justice mutual ground, wherever their pursuit readers. Transitioned myriad intentions endured tenure therewithin, united sector. Reputation navigations through circuits and sediment consoled, conceived truth retaliating endeavors, crushed cresting sparse room to recognize. Frequently bereft, not confidential ideal formed ultimately definitive scales, primarily. Under unwitting assessment by immediate forces or others, MP's transitions catalog, convert-throughs bound beyond general approach majority conciliatory, yielded Brad collateral measures, weighty findings. Conspicuously headed platform entities reversed relational objectives, transforming manner analogous consequence, apart from initially. Reliability fled, scene declares circumstance yawned fate, opposite trust alongside context bonded apprehensively. As Sophia was whisked away, Mark held Alex tightly, both trembling under the weight of their actions and consequences. Between the chaos, the quiet understanding passed between Lynn and Mark, a vow unspoken, resolving to face whatever came next together as a family. Days passed in a blur of sterile hospital corridors and murmured reassurances. Sophia was in critical condition, but stable. Doctors were optimistic, a word that barely held any weight in the storm of Lynn's current world. It was hard to fathom that just days ago, life was routine, structured around school runs and work shifts, bracketed by morning kisses and late-night lullabies. The incident seeped into Lynn's solitude, invading her moments of thoughts with what-ifs and whys, each scenario rewriting itself again and again behind her eyes. Mark's silent strength was her anchor. He too carried the badge, but understood the fragility of family better than anyone. Together, they tackled each facet of the process, a testament to resilience both in marriage and law enforcement. For days after, Alex barely left Sophia's bedside, his eyes lined with shadows of guilt and determination. Slowly, as Sophia began to stir, their world eased its chokehold, though they knew it would never return to what it once was. In time, forgiveness must weave itself into their lives, creating fragile bridges between them all, stronger once walked. The neighborhood too began to mend, whispers changing back to daily gossip over time. But in Lynn's home, the lessons of their trials etched deeper, emerging in renewed priorities. The badge, heavy as it was, meant little next to their shared survival, next to their family's heartbeat. Lynn returned to her work, the uniform fitting a new purpose, her family perpetually at the forefront of her actions, her oath now dual protecting the city, yes, but never at the expense of safeguarding her heart, her family. The decorative commendations hanging in her office couldn't compare to the extension of home brought on calls from work. The badges weren't as significant as sharing breakfast with Mark before their shifts, a small but cherished reminder that solidarity still standing against adversity makes champions of us all, living or otherwise. Now also, if you find this topic entertaining, kindly subscribe this channel for more like this. The recovery was a tapestry, woven of hospital visits, counseling, some community service for Alex, and a newfounded support for families like theirs. The shooting ordeal had altered their perception of seconds, of time wasted, of the future a tapestry stronger in patches most unexpected, warmer amidst the mended portions, vibrant as their renewed endeavor for normalcy. In the quiet morning hours, with the city not yet buzzing, Lynn found solace on her porch steps, feeling victory in the simple act of sipping her coffee slowly, the years ahead cautiously hopeful yet strong, motivated by remembering and cherished by rediscovery of the heartbeat within her.